second to last YouTube video that I'll be making on the Python Master Course. And today what we're going to be going over is while and for loops. And I included an image of looping and a smiley face because this is some pretty interesting stuff we're going over. Okay, so as always, please subscribe and please like these videos. I really want them to grow. Since this is going to be the end of this course, the second to last video at the end of this course, I still really would appreciate the support. We've gone through a long journey learning Python, and I have some exciting stuff after this course to share. And as always, I promise a silly video or a silly picture of me, and here I have a little picture of myself enjoying my Thanksgiving break a little too much at the light show. Anyways, and I would like to thank Alan Dominguez, my buddy here, for making this slideshow that I'll be presenting with the while and for loops. So, while and for loops. While loops are the first loop that we're going to look at. So, while loops, we can execute a set of statements as long as a condition is true. So, while loops work with Booleans. So, Booleans was a topic we went over before, true or false. That's essentially what a Boolean is. And here are some examples that I'll input into a Replit file in just a little bit. And also, we have a break statement, which is very, very important. So, I've mentioned before that loops can kind of work as like low-end viruses, because they loop. They loop over an algorithm or a program as many times as they can for an infinite amount, unless if it's either specified or it's broken. So including this break is very important. I should also note there exists a continue statement that's not very common that allows you to skip an iteration, but that's something that you should probably know that's out there, but I won't be going over it now. So if we jump into a clean Replit right here, and I input one of the first examples, which has I as 1, so I will be our variable, and we'll do while I is less than 6. So we're saying while I is less than 6, so anything that's less than 6, what's going to happen in this while loop? We're going to print, let's print I, and let's also add, let's continue on with our print by the I plus 1, plus equals 1. So we're going to add on to that. So here we go. We're continuously adding on to 1, and then we're stopping at 5, right? Because 5 is less than 6, and we're telling it here if I is less than 6, loop over this. But anything greater than that, then you can't continue. So if I included a 7 here, then it would hit 6 and it would stop. So another example that I have is I is equal to 1, while I is, we can keep 7 there, while I is less than 7, print I and add, we're going to set this equal to 3, okay? And we're going to make this an if. So if I is equal to 3, then we're going to break. But if it's not, then we're going to continue adding 1 to I. So here we have our variable. We have our while I is less than 7, print I. If I is equal to 3, remember we need the double equals here if it's an if statement, then break, stop, get out of there. Don't do the loop any longer than it needs to. If not, then continue adding to 1. So here we'll see 1, 2, 3, and then stops at 3, right? So as another example, I can go here, 5, it'll add up to 5, and then it'll stop, because we're not asking anything further. Now back in our slides, the for loop. So the for loop is the other loop that we're going over. A for loop is used for iterating over a sequence that's either a tuple, list, dictionary, anything out there that we've covered. Now this is less like for the keyword in other programming languages and works more like an iterator method as found in other object-oriented programming languages. Now I should mention object-oriented programming is, I want to say, a title that we give to a format of programming. So for example, I know a lot on Unity and game design. And the kind of programming I do in Unity and game design is object-oriented. We've got class, methods, all of these different things that go into programming that makes it object-oriented. And I should continue saying, with the for loop, we can execute a set of statements once for each item in a list, tuple, set, etc. So we have two other examples right here that I will punch in here. So let's get rid of our while and let's include our first example. So let's create a variable called fruits. And if you want to, you're welcome to follow along on your separate replit if you want to see how this plays out. You know, you can play with the little examples further once the video's over. And let's include banana, apple, and cherry, right? So we've got our fruits variable, and we're going to say for x in fruits. Now, I like to think about programming a lot like math, and I know that's boring for people because they like to not associate math with programming, because math, no offense to the math lovers out there, math can get pretty boring, and programming can get boring too. So I like to think of this like a math formula. So we have our for, and x can be literally whatever name we want. Music. Ryan Reynolds. If I spell that last name correctly. I mean, literally, it can be anything. But we like to keep x just to stay consistent. For x in fruits, so whatever that variable is going to be iterating inside, we're going to print x. Here's what we will get in return. So here we go. So this for loop looped inside our list right here and printed out what was inside our list. And you couldn't really see exactly what happened, but what happened was, because of this for loop, it looped over the fruits variable and it tried to print one character or one item. So it looped over apple, and then it went back again, and it looped over and found banana, and it looped again and found cherry, and I can add one other, orange. And if we run this, it's going to loop over one last time. It's going to give us orange. So a for loop is different than a while loop, not just because it doesn't need a condition to know if it's true or false, but it'll also loop continuously, while a while loop will loop depending on if something is true or false. So now we have another example, and we can go, and this one, this example I like better because it really shows the loop in action. So let's get rid of our variable and let's go with fruits as a string. So if we run this, then there you can see the loop looping into each character individually, and that's how we get this fruits printed vertically. So it's kind of a weird concept when you think about it, but really it can also be exciting. I'll just do something else. I can do guitar is cool, because guitar is cool if you watch my covers, and you can see it iterated over this entire thing. Perfect. Let's jump back in and let's see if there's anything else we need to go over. So this is iterating through a list and iterating through a string. You can iterate over several different sequences as mentioned at the top of the slides. Now, to loop through a set of code a specified number of times, we can use the range function. So I mentioned this in one of my videos before, but random range, just range, is a minimum and a maximum inside our parentheses. So we can do a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 30. We're like, give me a number, and it'll give us a number inside that range. The range function returns a sequence of numbers, starting from 0 by default, as I kind of mentioned, and increments by 1 by default. So it'll go up 1 each time as a default. So we have 3 other examples here that we will try. I should also mention that this last example right here, you can see it's a for loop inside a for loop. The correct jargon for that is called nested loop. So we're nesting inside, and the inner loop will be executed one time for each iteration for the outer loop. So let's jump back in here, and let's go. We're going to keep our formula for x in, but instead we're going to do range with our parentheses, and inside we're going to do 6. So 6 is going to be our maximum, right? Because our minimum is 0 by default, as mentioned before. So when we print this, we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's incrementing 1 each time. And this is a loop because it's looping over it continuously, and it's stopping at 6 or 5. Now let's set a minimum and a maximum. So let's set a minimum of 2 and a max of 6. Let's print that, and here we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and no 6, right? because our minimum was 2 and our max was 6. Now let's do a nested loop. This is going to be the big kahuna of today. Let's do a list. Let's do red, blue, and tasty. It's a weird adjective. Inconsistent adjectives, but we're gonna roll with it. Let's bring back our fruits variable. Too many bananas? No. I think we're good. Okay. I'm not a fruits guy, so I don't know really how to spell them that much because I don't really eat fruits. And I'm sure some of you viewers are looking at me weirdly through the screen. He doesn't eat fruits. So, here we're doing our nested loop. I was totally joking, by the way. I don't eat fruits. So here we have our nested loop, 4x in our ADJ, or short for adjectives, and that's our first variable. And now we're nesting another loop inside by going for y, so we're calling it something else. In fruits, print x and y. Here we go. We have, now this is where you need to wrap your head around the logic of this program. So we have red apple, red banana, and red cherry. So it's looping over this first list, and then grabbing this character, then this character, then this character, and sticking that first adjective next to it, right? So we're going x to y. Then it does it again, but with blue. Blue apple, blue banana, blue cherry. Then tasty apple, banana, and cherry. Now, as another example, I can go and I can do soft. I don't know. That's a weird adjective for this. And then I can go, let's do a vegetable. Let's do spinach. Yeah, I'm not gonna try that. I'm gonna do a carrot. How about a carrot? I like carrots. And here you can see that it includes the adjective for the 3 fruits that we had before, and then our vegetable. Vegetable's not a fruit. But anyways, that is loops. While loops check for booleans, and if the boolean is correct, then it will launch the algorithm. And for loops, loop over continuously, unless if you specify then the stop. And there's always the break keyword. That's literally just break. Nothing special. That's it. And I hope this helps.